All right, well, welcome everyone to our final AP Academy Professional Development Series session of the semester. We're really happy that you have all decided to spend a little bit of time with us this morning for our semester wrap up. So we're really excited that we have Provost Maria Cronley with us this morning. And so she's going to talk with us a little bit as well. So to kick things off, we kind of wanted to just provide an overview of some of the work that has been done this semester from our office, from the Office of Academic Services and Engagement. And then we're going to hand it over to Provost Cronley to talk with us a little bit more. So Ashley, do you want to kind of provide an overview of our office and the work that's been done thus far?
Sure, thank you. And thank you again to everyone for attending our sessions. We're always really excited. We never know. We know it's a weird time. It's like lunchtime. Sometimes people are having lunch and leaving classes and meetings. So we appreciate you joining us today. But ASE has been really busy this semester, as to be expected for a brand new office that is essentially just founded on really supporting our adjunct and part-time instructors across campus. And so we are really committed to enhancing student engagement practices, as well as professional development, and providing support and being advocates for this community of people we have across campus. And so we have our tasks are really centered around kind of coordinating, obviously, orientation for this group, which have been handled in kind of a decentralized way. And so we really wanted to bring all the pieces together. And so we are excited to be able to kind of meet our new adjunct and returning faculty, staff, and temporary faculty, as well as adjuncts at the beginning of each academic year. And so that's been a lot of our focus of kind of revitalizing that process and having everybody come together in a really organic way. And so that process is really exciting for us as we get to meet new individuals. We also have really focused on kind of tracking and documenting the policies and procedures this upcoming year regarding your evaluation processes. And so that time is coming up. And so a lot of you probably have already been observed by your department chair or a faculty member in your area. And so that second component is coming up after your course evaluations. And so you should be looking for, towards the end of the semester, looking for that feedback that should come to you and route to you via DocuSign. And we're still coming together as a group to look at that process. And so expect to see some updates or some changes to make it as seamless as possible. So we put together a task force of qualified adjuncts, administrative assistants, academic assistants, department chairs, and deans that serve on that task force. So we can really look at some of those processes in addition to your contracts that you sign. So that is a new policy for us. Typically, you only sign a contract as adjuncts and part-time at the beginning of your teaching experience at the beginning of the year, but now you sign a new contract every semester that you're teaching, and rightfully so. There are different things that happen each semester that you teach, and so that contract is not just for the university to have things in places, but to put your rights and responsibilities, just kind of document those for you each semester that you're teaching, and so you know what is expected of you and what we say that we will provide you as well. So it goes both ways for that. So that's been a lot of our work, as well as working with human resource. We feel like we meet with them every 2 weeks just to make sure all of the necessary paperwork and processes are in place to kind of help support you. And then we've created some new avenues for you. Along with this, AP Academy is one of those. We have workshops 2 or 3 times a month. So continue to send those practices in or those suggestions for speakers. We've had some really great presentations, and they're always recorded. So they are on the website, so you can go back and check those out if you weren't able to attend one of them. The innovative teaching panel was really, really great. I know I took things just from for my own course that I teach as well. Me and Allie both teach, and so I took some of those nuggets for our course. And so we've come up with some new processes, or I guess ideas, for different individuals for the spring semester. So look for those. One of the highlights that people seem to love is the newsletter Rachel sends out every month that has a lot of really great nuggets and ideas and suggestions and reminders, specifically with IT, everybody, D2L, we're just gonna keep that whole team lifted because there's always something going on with D2L with workshops and everything that's going on in technology. And in the midst of COVID, I know they've really been hammered but they've been great. The whole team has really been great to work with. And I know a lot of you have brought up some really great things as regarding our technology and some needs that you have. And so we've taken those and they've gotten those taken care of for you. So keep those things coming. So I don't want to steal all of the shine. Allie's going to talk about CASE, which we're really excited about, which is our new council for adjuncts. But I did want you to know that we're continuing to look at the processes and things that you need. So feel free to reach out to myself, Allie, or Rachel if you have any ideas to go along with our things that we already have into place. And so we have some other things to come for the spring semester. So hopefully you will be beneficial for you. Thank you.
Yeah, so Dr. Spearman mentioned CASE, which is the Council for Adjunct Support and Engagement. This is a group that we started this semester. Right now, it's still very much kind of in the grassroots stage, I would say. So we hosted 2 open meetings for all of our adjuncts and part-time instructors. I think a few of you were in those, I think. So we had those, got some wonderful feedback from the attendees. And based on that feedback, we are now moving forward with a few next steps that we're going to focus on. For one of those, it's an adjunct handbook that we are creating, a university-wide adjunct handbook that we're working on. And it's a collaborative effort. So we have a group of individuals that attended those meetings that will be kind of our core review team and feedback team for that. If you would like to be involved in that process, by all means, please shoot me a private message in the chat box and I will add your email to that list. We would love to have more feedback on that process. And we've really tried to do a lot to make our office kind of a one-stop shop for our adjuncts and part-time instructors. When we first kind of started this process earlier this year, I was trying to comb our website for different policies, guidelines, information that pertained to our adjunct and part-time instructors. I've been at this university for a decade and it was difficult for me to locate all of that information. So we knew that we needed a website to kind of consolidate all of that information. It's all out there. It's just a matter of finding it. So that's what we did with our website. Not only do we have quick guides on there, but we also link to other important offices on campus so that adjuncts and part-time instructors can easily access that information without having to search the website for a long time. Ashley mentioned the AP Academy Professional Development Series, which obviously you're aware of since you're here. We have just booked all of those for the spring semester. So I have been busy with the calendar invites this week. So we have a new slate of presenters that we're going to have in the spring, including the Pedagogy of Care session from the pre-semester calendar that everybody that we talk to that says, you know, what would you like to see more of? Everybody says pedagogy of care. So we heard that and we're making it happen. We also are bringing back by popular demand, the innovative teaching panels. So we're going to have a new crop of instructors that will share their insights into different innovative teaching methods during that time. So you will get a message probably in the next newsletter, I'm thinking, Rachel, with a spring session so that you can go ahead and mark those on your calendar. I do want to note, we got a lot of feedback this semester that this time is not very good for people's schedules, that lots of people have classes at this time. So we are trying to do these more in the afternoon because based on the feedback we got, afternoons are usually more flexible. So all of these sessions, and they'll be on different days throughout the week. So maybe if you can't attend one, you can attend another. So we're trying to be a bit more flexible with that. So, all right. So I want to turn it over to Provost Cronley because I'm sure that you all really want to hear from her. So Dr. Cronley, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you if you'd like to share kind of a semester overview.
Well, thank you, Allie. And I want to thank you and Ashley and the whole team that has worked so hard to establish case and who's put the AP Academy together. And I think it's a new endeavor, and I'm excited that we have it here at Austin P. I'm sure it's going to continue to grow and be fruitful and yield great resources for all of our part-time and adjunct faculty. And so I just want to say, first of all, hello, everyone. I'm very privileged and honored that Ashley and Allie invited me, and Rachel are welcoming me here. So, hello. I'm sure I don't know to what extent that you've seen or heard much from me. So I just thought I might introduce myself a little bit and talk about a few things. I think on our agenda, some successes and some challenges and things like that. So first of all, I think all of you know I'm pretty new here to Austin P. I started here in July. It feels in some ways like time has just gone like that, and my first semester has flown by so fast. At the same time, given some of the challenges that we faced, it was certainly an interesting way to interview for a job. But in some ways, it feels like I've been here forever. And so, but I want to thank everyone for such a warm welcome. So some of you may know I come from Ohio. I am born and raised in Central Ohio. I did my undergraduate studies at Bowling Green State University up in Toledo. It's near Toledo, Ohio, a little bit south of there. And I was a marketing undergraduate, got my degree in marketing and business. And then I worked in industry for about 10 years. Before I went back for my PhD in marketing at the University of Cincinnati. And I bring that up because I actually started my career as an adjunct faculty member. So some of my very first teaching experiences were when I was at Bowling Green. I was working on some graduate classes, and they asked me to do an adjunct course of principles of marketing class. And so my very first time ever standing in front of a classroom was as an adjunct. They gave me a principles class. There were 250 students in the class. So it's like jump into the deep end of the pool. And I was, I think I was, 22 at the time, and barely out of college myself. And ironically, a funny story is I was getting ready for that very first class, and I'm standing at the front of the classroom, and students are piling in. It's a big giant lecture hall, and one of the students walks down the steps and says, "Oh my gosh, Maria, how are you?" It was someone I had gone to high school with, and I was a senior when he was a freshman, and so he was from my hometown, and he was like, "I thought like you graduated, and what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Well, actually I'm teaching the class." And oh man, his face just went white, and he just like rushed out of the room. He dropped the class. I thought that was hilarious. So, but some of the things that happen when you're first teaching as an adjunct. So I bring that up though, because I do know what it's like I've adjunct at Bowling Green. I adjunct at a branch of Ohio State, so and at a technical college. So throughout the first 10 years of my regular career when I was working in marketing. So I certainly know what it feels like to be community faculty and to be coming in and feeling sometimes like you're a little disconnected from the institution, like you're not quite sure what the expectations are, but knowing that you have a lot to bring to the table. I always felt like I was able to bring into the curriculum and into the environment of teaching for our students, what was happening right then, right? Often I was sort of bringing in that cutting edge and that community business perspective. So that was helpful for me and what sort of I drew upon during those adjunct days. The other thing I wanted to share with you that you might not know about me is I'm also, one of the things that very much drew me to Austin P was that I'm also a first gen student. And so my dad was in the military and got a little bit of education, a few classes, right? Or when he was during that college age, he was serving in the Korean War, but really never did any degrees at all. And my mom worked as a nurse but she didn't have a bachelor's degree. She back in those days, that wasn't as common to go forward for a bachelor's degree in nursing. So, you know, one of those things that I just really resonated Austin P is that we have a special set of students between our students that are first generation, some who are more socially economically challenged, some who are military affiliated, and then we have traditional students. So that wide range of that student body is something that really drew me here. And I know for many of you, that's got to be a very fulfilling and rewarding part of your teaching experiences, just getting to work with such a diverse set of students from all different areas of life and background and perspective. I know whenever I get to interact with our students, I feel that richness of their experience. And so I really enjoy that. So as most of you know, my background is business. I grew up as a traditional faculty member at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And so really thought that would be the culmination of my second career. It did not end up being that way. I got, like lots of administrators, sort of shoved into administration in 2012 when my dean of my college, you know, came in and said, "Have you ever thought about being an associate dean?" And I'm like, "Heck no, I love being a faculty member." And he's like, "Oh, well, you start on Tuesday," you know, so so that's literally how I got my first job in administration. So so that's just a little bit about my background. And so then I was a provost at another school in Ohio, and then now here. And so again, it's been a really fun first semester. We have a lot of things that we can be really excited about. And I think the future, while it holds a lot of challenges, we have a lot of great opportunities too for the future. One thing that I hope that you're seeing is my Provost weekly communication. If for some reason you're someone who's with us today who's not getting it, please make sure you reach out to Tammy Devendall. She's my assistant and really runs our office, and she will make sure that you get added to that list. And my goal of the Provost Weekly every week is I'm not trying to do a fancy newsletter. I'm just literally Friday morning sitting down at my computer and writing an email. And it's really about just trying to share with all of the academic faculty and staff just where I feel like we are right now, how I feel about things, and then and of course be informative too and provide some information. So I encourage you to read those. And if you ever have a question, just respond back to me. I'm happy to try to answer the question, forward it to my email address. And I'm happy to try to answer the question. And the only other thing I wanted to say as part of my greeting today was that we're just very appreciative of you. So like I said, I know how hard it is sometimes to come into an institution, especially if you're a new part-time faculty member. You may not always understand what the expectation is. You may not always feel as connected as you want to be, but please know that students don't know the status of a faculty member, in the sense of to all of our students, we're all just faculty. And so it's, and they're looking to all of you for guidance and for mentorship and for leadership. And so I know that you provide that to them, and I'm grateful for that. So I just want to say thank you for being part of our faculty community, because it's really important. We could not function without our adjunct and part-time faculty. You bring expertise that many of our full-time faculty do not have. You bring a new diversity of perspective that many faculty who've maybe been here a long time don't have. And you allow programs to have flexibility. And so for that, we're really grateful. We really could not provide the quality education we provide without our part-time and adjunct staff. And so I'm just grateful to have you all on our faculty and part of our faculty community. So I really wanted to say that before we go any further. So that's sort of I'm looking at our agenda, sort of my greeting part of the day. Allie and Ashley, is there anything else you wanted me to cover before I just try to give some kind of updates? All right. And
I
of
think
course,
you covered it very well.
oh, good. Okay. And please jump in if you have a question, and we'll have time at the end for questions too. So don't worry about that. So I was asked to share as part of our AP Academy development session today, just sort of some of my, just to share with you what I think some of our biggest successes have been since I've been here, and some of what our challenges have been. And then we'll look ahead a little bit. But, some things that I don't know if you're aware of, and you probably, maybe you have heard this, maybe you haven't, but some things that I wanted to share with you that I think, despite all of the crazy COVID challenges that we've had this semester, we have actually managed to move the institution forward and do some really good work. And in addition to all of the great teaching that you're all doing, some other things that have happened, one thing I'm very excited about is our SACS COC accreditation. And our SACS COC accreditation, we've just completed our 5th year accreditation review without requiring any additional reports. So SACS COC is our regional accreditor, as most of you probably know. It's the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. And it is what accredits our entire institution. So we have to go through a 10-year reaffirmation process every year, or every 10 years, every decade, to be reaccredited. But in between that, we go through a mid-cycle review. So we don't have to address all of the standards, but we have to address about half of them. And several and all of the institutions that are on this cycle have to go through this. And so not the fact that we submitted our report and now have no follow-up required reports is really amazing. So most institutions, we're in a very small group of schools that receive that outcome. So I know it was, less than 20% of the schools get the nod to not have to submit any follow-up items. So that's really good for us. Other things I think that fall into that good news, or what I think our successes category, and I think will affect all of us in terms of teaching here at APSU, is we did just receive a $2.3 million Title III grant called Promoting Student Success Through Experiential Learning, with a focus on the development of student labor market readiness. So that's a long title. Loretta Griffey is the principal on that, and it is a 5-year grant. And so what does this grant do? So this grant is really aimed at supporting incoming first-year students to identify a sense of their career purpose, and which I think is really important. Having students early in their time at college, helping them start to find that career path and career purpose, even toward their vocation, their lifelong vocation, is really important, because that helps with retention and it helps students understand what they're working toward. So the other is to create experiential opportunities for those focused on developing soft skills and getting them ready for the labor market. And finally, the third piece of the grant is to create professional development activities for faculty and staff, focused on how to embed career exploration and labor market readiness into the curricula and into your classes. And so watch for more information on that. I think that'll be something that's really good and will be a great resource. Loretta's office is going to be a great resource for that in the long term. I think most of you, many of you may know that, especially if you're involved in these programs, that we've launched some new programs in 2020. Those are certainly successes, and we're excited about that. We've launched our Master of Speech, Language, and Pathology program, a bachelor's degree, a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, and our PsyD program in Counseling Psychology. So very exciting to continue to launch new programs. Under development, you may have heard that we have a Bachelor of Science in National Security Studies being developed, and a master's in criminal justice, which is hopefully, knock on wood, very, very close to being approved. It's going up before the Board of Trustees in December. And then we're working on the early stages of a Bachelor of Arts in Creative Writing and Publishing. And so those are things that I think are certainly fall into our successes columns. So some other things I think I would share with you just in terms of updates and highlights. I know most of you know that we have a hiring pause going on. And we will continue to have that hiring pause go on through the rest of this year for sure. But I want to reassure faculty, and I always want to reiterate to our faculty that while we're still under a hiring pause, we still are doing hiring for faculty. So faculty are mission critical positions, and that we as faculty retire and as faculty have to leave us for various reasons, we still do refill some of those, we still do refill those positions. And so we're actually engaged in several faculty searches for the fall, tenure track faculty searches, and temporary and 1 to 3 year contract searches. So I sometimes think there's confusion around, does the hiring pause mean we're not hiring anyone? And that's not true. We actually, still are hiring in those really critical areas where, especially that are student front facing. And so I always want to remind people of that. So also I think on the positive, the other is some other just little things in terms of changes. If you haven't lately been on the academic affairs resource page of our website, I always encourage faculty, don't forget about that. Go there and look at it. We've revamped it this semester, so hopefully it's more informative. Jasmine O'Brien modified a lot of the organization of the information, and so we hope that the resources are easier to find and easier to use. So I always try to remind people of that. Similarly, I hate to bring up the dreaded COVID word, but I also encourage you to go back and refresh yourself on our guidelines and our risk levels, and read the weekly update that comes out from the COVID command team. I know it feels like it's just all COVID all the time, but really, I find that I even have to go back and reread and relook at those guidelines and remind myself. And so, especially as we're coming to the end of a term and we're getting ready to roll into a new term, I think that'll be really helpful. I just encourage you to continue to do that and take a look at that. So those are some changes. The other thing and I don't know if it would fall into the area of success, but the other thing that I would just remind you of or point you to that I thought I would share with you is you may have seen a notice come out from the Provost's office that we have actually done some reorganization in the Provost's office. And so we are, again, with Loretta Griffey getting that Title III grant. She used to be in University Advancement. She's moving back. She was in Academic Affairs a long time ago. She moved over to University Advancement and External Relations, and now she's coming back to Academic Affairs. So I'm thrilled with that. But if you hadn't seen that announcement, I wanted to share that with you. And I wanted to share that honors and our honors program and our President's Emerging Leaders program will move underneath Loretta's part of the organization, as well as our first year student success. So our professional advisors and coaches will move under that area as well. What will stay with, and then Loretta will also continue to work on some grants and some foundation things like FEDA-Gov and things like that are part of her foundation work. And then staying under our Vice Provost of Student Achievement, Nancy King Sanders, then of course the registrar and enrollment will stay under that area. And then our sort of academic support, so the Learning Resource Center and tutoring and academic recovery will stay in that area. So I wanted to just make you aware of that. Are there any questions so far? If not, I can go into some challenges. All right, and I can't see everybody on my one screen, so, but I don't see anybody's hand up. So, and I'm sure Ashley or Allie or Rachel will jump in on me. So those are some of the successes that I thought I would share, and some of the highlights and changes around academic affairs that I thought you might find interesting. Of course, challenges have been, I'm not even gonna talk about all the challenges with COVID. But I think, you know, we did face some challenges this semester, besides just the fact that we were all trying to adapt and teach under extraordinary circumstances, right? And that we had face-to-face still happening under socially distant situations, and we were trying to enforce our mask policies on campus, to trying to balance the students under high flex modalities, right? And I want to talk a little bit about modalities in a few minutes, and all the way to then trying to make sure that we're teaching those online courses and helping students through this, and then just dealing with our own Zoom fatigue and mental, physical, and spiritual fatigue that has happened during COVID. Certainly that has been a challenge. And really, we know those challenges are going to continue, but what we want to do is simply try to learn from take the lessons from this semester and improve for next semester. That's my goal and my hope. And I always get this question in any public forum, so I'll answer it, and I'll answer it in advance. Do I think we will still be like this in the fall? and my answer is no, an emphatic no. I sincerely hope and intend and anticipate that hopefully we will not be operating under this. So I do not have a crystal ball, of course, but I'm an optimistic person by nature. So I'm going to certainly hope that we are not in that situation, and that we will not be operating under these different modalities, that in fact we'll be operating under our traditional modalities of we've always had online and some hybrid, but we'll be more back to our traditional face-to-face and our vibrant campus that we've always had. And so I'm excited to see that APSU campus, because I haven't gotten to see that yet, but I'm excited to see that. The other challenge I probably should talk about is, of course, admissions. And, admissions has been a little bit up and down this year, in the sense that it is a challenge. We have finally launched our admission cycle for this year. And if any of you watched our town hall, I gave a pretty in-depth, very in-depth review of our admissions and enrollment efforts, but it does continue to be a challenge. I think most of you know that our overall enrollment, which includes our graduate and our non-degree programs, is sitting around 10,280 students right now, maybe a little higher or lower depending on the day. And this is really the lowest that we've seen in 5 years. Some of this is due to COVID, but there's also additional challenges around our ability to award competitive scholarships, some of our marketing and outreach efforts. And we are working on addressing those issues. The president has formed a small strategic marketing team to work on these enrollment and marketing issues. So I will share that right now applications are running about 20% lower than they did last year at this time, which is very concerning. Our challenge is that high schools and community colleges are not allowing visits. So they're not allowing us to come in to the schools. Traditionally, we'd be meeting with guidance counselors right now. We'd be doing fairs. And right now we're not allowed on their property, and they won't even allow us to Zoom in. And so that's creating a real challenge, just reaching those prospective students. We also so admissions is really trying diligently to kind of catch us up. We do utilize postage and email and general marketing to reach out to those prospective students. And then once a student raises their hand, the communication intensifies. We've also this year instituted our own application portal and what's called a CRM, customer relationship management product, so that we have control over how we communicate with students. through that CRM, we can send more targeted communications, and we're managing our application portal. So I bring all this up about admissions because I always want to be transparent about what our challenges are. We have had lower than wanted and lower than expected and lower than normal first year full-time freshman enrollment this year and last year. And so we are facing some significant enrollment challenges from that traditional student base. We also face some enrollment challenges this year from our military students, our military Fort Campbell base, partly because of COVID again, and partly because we had brigades deployed. And so timing of that deployment with the semester calendar was not very advantageous for us. So I see that Chris Nakutis is on the call, and her team works really closely with enrollment, and they're working hard to make sure that our military affiliated students have opportunities to enroll and be successful. So of course, those are challenges. And I bring that up because one of the things that you can do to help, even as an adjunct, is make sure that if you talk to students in your classes and they're talking about not coming back, or they're having challenges, do please try to direct them to resources. So I have some gap scholarships. If you have a student with some smallish financial needs, like, hey, I just can't get that last semester payment made, direct them back to financial aid, tell them that there's gap scholarships available, and that if we can, financial aid will try to work with them. If you work out in the community, or people in the community where admissions could have a pop-up admissions event, do it. Call Amy Corlew in our admissions office. They are really willing to do anything in order to try to access and reach students. So I wanted to throw that out there and encourage people to send us good ideas. We want to engage in those. And finally, we did do an AP Day last weekend. As some of you know, that's our on-campus event to welcome prospective students. And it was fairly successful. We had 134 families come. They were spread out throughout the day so that we could follow COVID guidelines. And of that 134, 110 of those students applied. So that's a great outcome, a great number of students. So we're excited about that. But again, as you continue to talk to students in your class, current students, if they haven't re-registered yet, please encourage them to re-register. Please encourage them, if they need help or resources, to direct them to those various places and those resources. Okay. So I think those are some of the kind of challenges and successes that I wanted to talk about. Any questions, comments, thoughts? And all right.
It looks like we have a question in the chat box that kind of provides a good segue into our next agenda item. Will the spring semester look like the fall semester did in terms of classes on campus and online?
Yeah, that is perfect. I know. Great, perfect segue for conversation. So let me talk a little bit about that. And I think the first thing to do is talk about those modalities, right? What will spring look like in terms of calendar and in terms of modalities? So it's already been announced, and so probably most of you know this, that we will have our traditional wintermester. That is an online session. And so that's going to start and stop as normal. No changes there. Spring semester will start and end at its normal time. So I believe that is the Tuesday after Martin Luther King Day. I think that's January 19th. Someone will jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have a calendar in front of me. So that will happen. We did have some changes to our spring break calendar that I think we've communicated about, but in case you don't know what that is, I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up my papers to make sure that I'm saying these correctly. Those will be, so we are altering spring break a little bit. We're going to be off on President's Day, which I believe is February, somebody help me, 18th? Yeah. Is it 18th or 16th?
15th.
15th, great. So we will be having that day. The university will close. And then the original Thursday and Friday of spring break will also be days that the university the classes, we won't have classes. Those were our original Thursday and Friday of our spring break. That's the second week. I believe that's the second week of March. Lynn's probably going to jump in with the right dates for me at some point.
Oh, I was going to type, but I'll just say, so on February 15th, it is not an instructional day, but the university is open. Staff have to report, and then Thursday and Friday, March 11th and 12th.
Right. And the president may make decisions about administratively closing the university those days, but those, as we know right now, will not be instructional days. The president is reserving 2 additional days that would make up our spring break to announce at a later time. And that allows her to have a little bit of flexibility to see how the spring is going to evolve. But we'll get those announced ahead of time once we're into the spring semester. So there will be sort of 5 days of non-instructional time still on the books, but we're not doing it in the traditional 1-week format this year. And that decision really was made to discourage students from frankly traveling, and sometimes when students travel on spring break, they don't always use their very best judgment. And so this is a way to work within a kind of a different model. The other thing I want to talk about is the modalities. So we will have the same modalities that we've had this fall. Students will be able to take courses in what we call a conventional face-to-face manner. They will be able to take courses in a traditional online manner. They will be able to take courses in an online format, however, what we call synchronously, which means that they will be taking, it's at a given time and space, and it is an online class, but it is at a defined time. So it's a synchronous online class. And then we'll still have the high flex classes. So the same modalities that we have this semester will flow into next semester. There are some changes. So a little bit of, again, let's learn from our good lessons though from this fall. So I'm going to be putting out in my Provost Weekly this message tomorrow. So I'm going to share it with y'all, or today, not tomorrow. Today's Friday. I was thinking today's Thursday for some reason. I'm going to put this out in my message today, if it hasn't already gone out this morning, that a little bit of, I think, as we think about that high flex modality. So we've in our office have heard from students this semester some frustration. They have questioned why a delivery method might have changed during the term. Now that's not counting illness like COVID. In other words, so some students registered for these high flex classes and they expected the class to be held in person regularly with some parts delivered online. That's what the high flex means, right? That some of the classes face-to-face and some of the classes is remote instruction. We had to do that. We had to offer that modality, as you know, because if you walk into any classroom on campus, right, we have desks that are 6 feet apart. And so there's no way to put a class of, 35 in a room where there's only 15 chairs because they're all spread out for social distancing. So that's why we have this high flex modality. It also allows us greater flexibility. But what students became somewhat frustrated with was when the modalities would just kind of change, or it wasn't actually what they expected it to be. So that's sort of the student frustration. I've also heard a lot of faculty frustrated too, right? That in fact, faculty, in an effort to be flexible and compassionate, that in fact students did not always attend their in-person sessions. And this disappointed some faculty, and that some of the students didn't show up as they were supposed to. And so that also created flexibility. So I think in our effort to have that compassion and flexibility, I think there was a little bit of frustration on both sides. So I think that as we start to prepare for next term, and you all start to prepare your syllabi for next term, to help students better understand and adhere to the published delivery method that you're teaching under, I really want to ask you all to provide very explicit and clear attendance and participation expectations and plans in your course syllabi. And then it's perfectly appropriate to hold the students accountable to those. I think that's fine. Of course, that's with the caveat of, right, barring illness, barring a student's in quarantine or the university pivots to remote learning for some reason. So I think that's one. I think it's like a fine tune that we can make on our syllabi. I think it will frankly help both faculty be less frustrated and help students be more successful, sort of for their own good, right? So that's sort of a change or a, and I guess a tweak that I'd like us to do for spring. Additionally, I'm asking faculty to populate your D2L shells at least 2 business days before the first day of class. So this would be Thursday morning, January 14th at 8:30 by 8:30 a.m. I'm going to put that out in writing to everyone, but we would like those D2L shells to get open 2 business days before. I know not all the students are going to attend to this. I get that, but I hope it will help ease the start of the term. So, so we're gonna do that. And I had that conversation with the University Senate yesterday, and I am going to be putting that out in my message today. The other thing that I'll put out in my message today is that we have some revised guidelines around Zoom, for some Zoom and some information to put in your syllabus around that. And that is essentially around the idea of making sure that you're not sharing those Zoom, if you're recording sessions, that students know it, and that you're not sharing those Zoom sessions outside of your classes. And so we have a more detailed document and set of guidelines that are be going out today. But I encourage you to take a look at those and read through those. And just familiarize yourself with those. And then finally, some people have asked me, what if the campus decides to pivot remotely for spring? How will I know? Like, what will happen? Well, okay, so I would just encourage you to just don't totally disconnect. You need to stay connected in terms of communication. So I encourage you to continue to check your email. If you have not ever signed up for the Rave alert service, sign up for that. I think I actually put instructions on how to sign up for Rave in one of my Provost Weeklies this semester. So we'll send out messages on that. And we'll make sure that I'm putting emails out and messages out through department chairs and deans. So if by chance we would have to pivot to remote instruction for spring because of COVID-19, we'll try to make sure that but please do your part and stay connected to us so that you're paying attention and you're checking for updates on the website and things like that. I will share with you, because I am on the COVID command team, that the president had a conversation with the governor's office yesterday. And at this point, it is not the intention of the state at this time to put us into a stay-at-home order. Now, that was as of yesterday, right? Things change like minute to minute around here with COVID-19. But I was reassured yesterday to hear that piece of news, and I thought I would just share it with you. The other thing that I think I want to share as we're heading into spring that I think complements the AP Academy is I'm going to be making an announcement after Thanksgiving about a new initiative in academic affairs. It's called CAFE. And that stands for, we love acronyms around here, I know. That stands for the Center for the Advancement of Faculty Excellence. And so CAFE is going to be under Vice Provost Crosby's area. And it's really going to coalesce under a center director all of our faculty development initiatives and programs. This, while initially, as we're launching it, it will probably be more focused on full-time faculty. We hope to start incorporating quickly more programming for adjunct and part-time faculty also, and resources. And so what the goal is to bring together across all the colleges sort of state-of-the-art pedagogy, teaching best practices, peer mentoring, and helping our colleagues not only with excellence in teaching and how to be better in the classroom, but also thoughtful scholarship, how to improve advising and service. So all of those things. My goal is I want to help enrich the professional lives of our faculty in lots of ways. And so I'm thrilled and excited that we're able to bring the center to campus and launch this. We've had certainly faculty development initiatives that have lived in the university for several years in various states. But it's time to bring back a formal center so that we can coalesce all those resources together. And so, so watch for that after the Thanksgiving break. So I have talked you all to death. I've talked way more than I anticipated. So I'm happy to take any questions. Any other questions?
Feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to speak, or you can drop it in the chat box. If you want to send it directly to me, if you want to ask a question anonymously, that's fine. You can send that directly to me and I can share it, or just unmute.
I was just going to say, I think everything Dr. Cronley shared was very helpful. And I know some people who couldn't come today. And I know you guys have recorded it, but there was a lot packed in there. And I just wondered if maybe you would consider sending out like a summary as a follow-up to this meeting to this group of people.
Sure, I can actually go through and type something up to include with this recording as well.
Yeah, I hate to add work to other people, but I would love that.
I was going to say, it may not be today, but
no, I understand.
We'll get that for you.
And Allie, I'll try to coalesce my notes and send them to you so you can build on that. So.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I would like to say I was feverishly taking notes over here. So there was a lot of really great information. So Allie, I can send you some of those things too, but it's just good to kind of capitalize and you hear about so many things in different meetings that are happening across campus, but to consistently see all of the projects. I was not aware about all of the initiatives or new programs that we launched, especially a few of them I was. So that's exciting to know about that. In the midst of all of this, we're still growing.
Still a university, we're still doing good things, and we're still advancing the institution, and that's really important. So as we're wrapping up today, I just want to say, I know I said this earlier in the beginning of our talk today, but I just want to thank each of you. We would not be the quality institution we are without the dedication and great work of each and every one of you as our faculty. And so I'm just very grateful for you every day, and I'm very appreciative of you. And let's go pee. Always, right?
We did have one question. Would you mind repeating those 3 new academic programs?
Oh, sure. Sure. So we've launched our Masters of Science in Speech Pathology, and I now have to remember them because I closed all my notes. We launched the Masters of Science in Speech Language Pathology. We launched a BS in Kinesiology, and we launched our PsyD program in clinic in counseling psychology. So those are our new programs that we launched this semester. Programs under development are BS in National Security Studies, a new program in that, and a Master's in Criminal Justice is being developed. And we're just starting work on a BA in Creative Writing and Publication. So I think those are the ones that are under development.
Great.
That was pretty good.
Good.
It's so exciting, I know.
Yeah. And I think one thing I didn't mention too is we will graduate our first cohort of doctoral students in education this year. And so that's our first doctoral degree. So we're super excited. We're about to hand out our first doctorates. And so that's really, really exciting. And we'll do that this summer.
I know Allie is chomping at the bit. She's in the program, so she's very
Oh,
excited.
good.
Summer. It's going to be next summer for me.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, good.
I wish it was this summer.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you everybody so much. Thank you, Provost Cronley, for sharing such a wealth of information with us today. I will get together some notes with this and share that with everyone along with the recording on our website. Like I said, this is our last session of this semester for AP Academy Professional Development, but we will have more next semester. So I hope that you're all able to log back on and learn with us. So have a wonderful and safe holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving. And we will see you all soon, hopefully.
Thank you, Allie and Ashley and Rachel, and invite me back next
We
semester.
will. Thank you.
Thank you.